The year is 1951. The world is still recovering from the devastation of World War II, and a new conflict, the Cold War, is taking shape. In the Pacific, the Philippines, having gained independence just 5 years earlier, faces an uncertain security environment. Against this backdrop, on August 30, 1951, representatives of the Philippines and the United States gather in Washington, D.C. to sign what will become one of the world's longest-lasting security agreements, the Mutual Defense Treaty. To understand why this treaty came to being, we must look back at the relationship between these two nations. The Philippines became a U.S. territory after the Spanish-American War in 1898. Following Japanese occupation during World War II, the Philippines finally achieved full independence on July 4, 1946. However, independence didn't mean complete separation. The memory of Japanese invasion was still fresh, and the emerging Cold War presented new threats. In 1947, the Philippines and the U.S. signed a military base agreement, granting the United States the right to establish bases at more than a dozen locations in the country. By 1951, the global landscape had shifted dramatically. The communist victory in China in 1949 and the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950 heightened concerns about security in the Pacific region. Both the Philippines and the United States saw the need for a formal defense arrangement. The path to the treaty began with President Truman's directive on January 10, 1951, authorizing John Foster Dulles to negotiate a mutual assistance arrangement among the Pacific Island nations. Initially, the U.S. considered including the Philippines in a broader multilateral agreement with Australia and New Zealand. However, they ultimately decided on a bilateral treaty to better preserve Philippine ability to link with Southeast Asia. The negotiations weren't without challenges. The Philippines expressed concerns about being treated differently from other U.S. allies and insisted on calling it a mutual defense treaty rather than a security treaty as the U.S. had initially preferred. On August 30, 1951, the treaty was signed in Washington, with both President Truman and President Quirino in attendance. For the United States, the signatories included Secretary of State Dean Acheson and John Foster Dulles. The Philippine signers included Foreign Secretary Carlos Romulo and Ambassador Joaquin Elizalde. The treaty consists of 8 articles that establish the framework for mutual defense. At its core, it recognizes that an armed attack in the Pacific area on either of the parties would be dangerous to its own peace and safety, and commits to both nations to act to meet the common dangers. The treaty also emphasizes peaceful resolution of disputes, consultation between the parties, and reporting any armed attacks to the UN Security Council. Importantly, it defines an armed attack to include attacks on metropolitan territory, island territories, or armed forces, public vessels, or aircraft in the Pacific. For the United States, the treaty served several strategic interests. It helped contain the spread of communism in Asia, secured strategic military positioning in the Pacific, and preserved American influence in its former colony. For the Philippines, the treaty addressed post-independence security vulnerabilities. Philippine leaders, remembering the Japanese occupation, sought security guarantees while developing their own defense capabilities in an unstable region. Both nations benefited from the collective defense framework, the deterrence against potential aggressors, and the continued military cooperation. The immediate effect of the treaty was to formalize the security relationship between the two countries and integrate the Philippines into the United States' emerging security framework in the Asia-Pacific region. Over the long term, the treaty has provided an enduring alliance framework that has survived numerous political changes in both countries. It has enabled the evolution of security cooperation from Cold War containment to contemporary concerns about maritime security and regional stability. The treaty has also played a significant role in the broader regional security architecture, serving as one of the cornerstones of a U.S. presence in the Western Pacific alongside similar arrangements with Japan, South Korea, and Australia. The treaty's focus has evolved from Cold War containment to post-Cold War concerns. It has been supplemented by additional agreements, including the 1998 Visiting Forces Agreement and the 2014 Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. In recent years, the treaty has gained renewed relevance due to increasing tensions in the South China Sea. In 2023, both countries agreed on new guidelines to clarify the scope and application of the treaty, particularly regarding maritime disputes. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty between the Philippines and the United States stands as a testament to the enduring partnership between these two nations. Born in the uncertainty of the early Cold War, it has adapted to changing global dynamics while maintaining its core commitment to mutual defense.